Welcome to Open Door Veterinary Collective's new quick conversations as we explore solutions to address barriers to accessing pet care and resources in your communities. I'm Amy St. Arnaud, and I'm with Open Door Veterinary Collective. And our mission is to share a sustainable model and resources that increase access to veterinary care in communities nationwide. And thanks to Maddie, we're able to do that through this webinar series. So I'm excited to welcome Geraldine, who's our Maddie's National Director of Programs and Partnerships, and she's going to kick us off.
Thanks, Amy, and welcome everyone. I am so happy to be here to kick off the series, which is our very first of 5 sessions that we're going to be having, and they're short, quick 30-minute sessions. So as Amy said, I'm Geraldine De Silva, and I'm Maddie's National Director for Programs and Partnerships with Open Door Veterinary Collective. And I'm happy to be here to talk about transport solutions with a great lineup of panelists that we have with us today. And thanks to Maddie, we're able to have this session. Our panelists today are Gail Baer, who is the pet retention liaison with Animal Friends in Pittsburgh. And we have Sarah McGoldrick, who is the Vice President of Animal Operations at Dallas Pets Alive, and Marty Sampson, who is the founder and CEO of Leash, which is a privately owned pet taxi service. So with that, I'd like to get started, but I'd like to clarify that with transport, when we talk about transport solutions, we're talking about pet-friendly rides and how to get pets to and from appointments with the goal of increasing access to care. So with that, I'd like to get started with just talking a little bit about what Open Door has done so far. We've created a micro-learning nugget, which you can find on the Open Door website, and Amy's going to post it in the chat. Here we talk about some transport barriers and solutions that we found in the industry. We've also created a step-by-step guide to get started with Uber, where we formed a partnership with the organization. And we started this conversation on pet rides at our Maddie's Community Conversation, where we had it at the end of last year. And so with that, let's get started. So I thought we could start with you, Gail, because when we launched the U Transport program with Open Door Veterinary Collective, you were part of our pilot study. So I'd love to learn from you how you started the program and where you're at right now.
Sure. So I attended the webinar where the U Transport model was introduced, and I was practically jumping out of my seat with joy because one of the challenges we've been having here at Animal Friends in Pittsburgh was getting our clients to and from the clinic because we had quite a number of folks who did not have transportation. And we had thought of some other ideas. We had tried using a volunteer model, and it just wasn't working for us. So I attended the training. We were hooked up, and I think we were up and running by almost the last day of 2023. So we have been utilizing Uber for Pet for 1 whole year, and it has grown over the course of the year. To date, in 2024, we had 83 Uber Pet trips to and from our clinic. We were averaging about $33 a ride, and we spent $2,713 total in our Uber for Uber Pet experiences. So it absolutely met our need, and it has increased the population that we're able to serve at our affordable clinic. We've utilized it for wellness exams, spay, neuter, and for vaccines as well. Vaccines and wellness appointments are just 2 trips, but a spay and neuter is a 4-trip situation, and that the folks come and drop their pet off in the morning, and then they come back in the afternoon. So that's basically where we are right now, and I can talk about some of the roadblocks we had and had to bust through later on. Thank you.
Fantastic. That's really exciting. It's exciting when we can see that something's working, when it's almost like, an idea that actually comes to fruition. So great job. So the next question is for you, Sarah, and you are at Dallas Pets Alive, where you are, spearheading a lot of innovative solutions in increasing access to care. So could you talk a little bit about how you're using transport or pet rides as a resource to increase access to care?
Absolutely. So we love to innovate at Dallas Pets Alive. So it's all about finding new ways to help people and their pets. And SNIFT, which is our transport program, SNIFT, the Lift for Pets is what we call it, actually started with our foster program as a way to make fostering more accessible for our community and getting pets to their vet appointments or even picked up from the shelter. And I realized that if we have volunteers willing to help transport foster pets, then they would absolutely be willing to help transport owned pets. And so we have transitioned to use SNIFT for both foster and for our positive alternative to shelter surrender program to help those that can't maybe take off work, or maybe they don't have transportation, to help these pets get to the vet clinics.
That's fabulous. I love how creative you are and the way you are adapting to see where the need is within your organization. I love it. Thank you. So, Marty, first, thank you for picking up the phone when I made a cold call to you. That was fantastic because not everyone answers the phone. And so it led us to this. And I'm really excited to hear about Leash offering like a pet taxi service and how it's unique from, say, Uber or other pet taxi services that we have in other cities. So if you could share a little bit about your program, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks to the other panelists. I know this is our second go around. So Leash is very simple. Leash is a pet-only transportation platform that offers pickup and drop-off services for pets to and from daily appointments. So vets, groomers, doggy daycares, and boarding kennels, and really any other place that pets need to be. Leash started with a need that I had in my own family. We have a very large golden doodle, and he needed to go to daycare one day, and neither my wife nor I could take him. And in passing, my wife said it would be really nice if somebody could come and help us get Wally to daycare, and that turned into Leash. And our mission is very simple. We want to help people who are either inconvenienced by getting their pets to and from daily appointments, or folks who lack access to transportation, helping them get their pets to and from daily pet care appointments. Our service is very simple. It's app-based. Folks can download our app and go and schedule a ride for their pet. All of our drivers are current or former pet care professionals. They go through a full vetting process with us to make sure that these folks have the capability to handle your pets and can do so in a safe manner. And the way that we work is we actually work directly with pet care businesses and pet care nonprofits. So most of our rides are to and from our partners. That's how folks hear about us, and that's our model.
That's so user friendly, and I like that it's easy to use, and you have an easy vetting process, and your drivers are all trained on how to sort of interact and understand animal behavior. So I love that. So Gail and Sarah, because we're working in the animal welfare sort of sector, what barriers did you face when setting up your program, and how did you, that's sort of two-ended question, and how did you sort of plan for your budget when you were creating your program?
we were very lucky in that we had recognized this issue and we had set aside money in our budget for transport. We just didn't have a good solution for how to do it until I attended your webinar. So we had the money and we were still kind of brainstorming a good method to get our folks here. The challenges as far as getting set up and running were nil. U-Transport provided excellent instructions. It was easy to get the platform set up. It was set up immediately. It was easy to navigate. Of course, I had used Uber myself maybe once or twice for my daughter, but I was able to navigate it with ease. The challenges more or less came in with the fact that a lot of our clients are not necessarily really tech handy. So what we have had to do is kind of have a coach that coaches the family through coming for their appointment and back. If folks are cool with texting and technology, pretty much it's a phone call. We've got your ride set up and everything runs smoothly. For other individuals, it's a phone call in the morning and then it's a phone call that will be scheduling it and navigating whether they can handle just getting a text that the ride is coming or if they need a call that their Uber is coming. Reassuring folks, a lot of our folks get nervous. They've not used Uber. Is it going to come? Am I going to miss my appointment? So there's a lot of kind of counseling. And then our shelter has 2 buildings. So inevitably the Uber will bring the owner and the pet to the wrong building because it's the first one that they encounter. So one of us goes down and stations ourselves, waves down the Uber and gets them into the correct place. So those were basically the challenges. The one challenge with the platform is we cannot schedule Uber Pet, and I don't know if this is just a function of our region, but we cannot schedule it in advance. So if our clinic has scheduled an appointment for Thursday, the 31st at 2, I can't go in and set up an Uber ride. I can set up a draft, and then day of, I can actually order the Uber for the client in real time. Or if they're pretty savvy, I can send a link the evening before and they can just hit the link when it's time for them to come in. So setup was easy, format's easy. It's just that our clients need a lot of coaching and it can be kind of time intensive. There's 2 of us in our department, so we sort of split doing the counseling as far as getting the folks in and reassuring them everything's going to be okay, meeting them at the Uber, helping them bring in their pets if need be. But it's been wonderful. It's all worth it. It's worth the challenges.
I love the compassion that you're bringing into it as well, and understanding like that the families that you're helping also need a little bit of coaching. But could you tell us a little bit about the budget, like how did you decide on how much you were going to allocate for your program?
Yes, we were sort of ballparking what would an Uber-esque type of thing cost. And ballparking, we were sort of using our pet pantry client base as sort of a ballpark number of who may need this service. We had kind of a sense of how many of our existing clients needed transportation. So that's sort of what drove our calculation. We came up with $7,500 for transportation, and we only used about $2,500 of that. Now the Uber it gained momentum as the year went on, and everyone became familiar that we were using it, and our clinic knew to offer it. But it has maintained about $33 a ride. We've brought people in from all over the greater Pittsburgh area, and some people are getting 2 rides, some are getting 4 rides if it's a spay neuter, and it's averaging about $33 a ride. So we can use that as we plan for 2025 now that we have a handle on what the actual cost is.
That's exciting. Very, very good. Fantastic. So Sarah, if you could share your experience with the same question.
Yes. So for budgeting purposes, we rolled this out with the help of a grant. We were a little bit restricted by that grant funding, just in terms of what we do for our drivers is they receive a stipend of about $35 per trip. This was kind of our way to say, hey, volunteers, come spend your afternoon driving pets around, and just to give them that little bit of incentive. And so we actually applied for a grant to expand our fostering program, which helped fund that run initially. And so with that, we have used Uber in the past. I'm a big fan of Uber. And so now we kind of balance between, is this pet going for a surgery appointment that the owner really doesn't need to be there? Or is this pet going for like an in-room exam for an illness or an injury, and it's beneficial for the pet owner to be there? So we have found it is much more cost effective for us if it's like a surgery drop off, that we recruit for a sniff driver, which for us is really, we've got a network of people that have signed up as sniff drivers. So we send out an email, and usually within a day or two, someone responds and says, I'll do it. And so we kind of determine what's most cost effective. And then once we found that this program was successful, we have built it into our budget going forward. And so it has allowed us to make these vet appointments more accessible to pet parents in the area. And so right now, I think we have about $3,000 a year budgeted for it. But as we grow and as we're able to expand those services, we just track, similar to Gail, we just track what's been happening. And we build from there, and the community loves this program, and just how successful it is, and how accessible it helps not just the pet owners, but foster parents as well. So we're usually able to get good funding for that.
Yeah. And does it live in one department, or is this spread across various departments? Like, who's like holding that budget?
Yeah. So we have it spread across different departments. We've got one team that manages it. So we've got a coordinator that handles all of the requests that come in. If it's a pet parent that needs help, it's usually our PASS director that coordinates the driver. So she'll reach out to our sniff coordinator, and they work together to find the driver. If it's a foster parent, they just reach out to the sniff coordinator directly. So there's one team that does it, but then we've got budgets that fall under our foster program, and then a budget that falls under our PASS program, so that we can really track what's being used for pet parents and what's being used for foster families, and where is that use going.
Fabulous. I like that. So Marty, I was interested to hear whether you have like any agreements that you sign with your drivers, and also to sort of, because these are pet only rides, like what's the process like for picking up the animal and dropping off, and making sure that the animal comes back home safe?
Yeah. So all of our drivers are they're contractors, so they're 1099 contractors with us. So they, some of them have other jobs, and they drive for us when it's available. And then your second question was, our process. Yeah, the process for us is extremely important. We have a very standard protocol that our drivers use, that they're trained on when they do come on board with us, in order to ensure the safety of the pet, and that the pet either it gets to their destination, whether that being to a vet clinic or being home from a vet clinic. So particularly for dogs, we will always meet our dogs inside. If a dog is not wearing a harness, we will place a harness on the dog. That we handle one dog at a time. So our drivers are allowed to drive up to 3 dogs from the same household. So we'll handle one dog at a time. We'll bring one dog out to the car, get the dog settled, get them tethered into the car, go back in. If there's a second dog, bring that second dog out. Our clients can follow us along on our app. They get updates, they get photos along the way. And then the process at the end of the ride is just the reverse. So we handle one dog at a time. We bring that dog inside our driver will check that dog in with reception. And ideally, the folks at the clinic will take custody of the dog from us. That's what we ask of vets who work with us, is because our drivers generally will have another ride after their ride. They're unable to kind of stay there and wait with the dog or with the cat for their appointment. So taking custody of the pet is pretty important to us. The nice thing about our service is that it's usually only 2 rides. It's a ride there and a ride back for a routine vet appointment, or for any vet appointment. There's a give and take. So we don't drive humans, we only drive pets. So a lot of times people have to be comfortable with their pet going with a driver to their appointment. But it does cut down on the cost for either the individual that's paying for it, or for the organization that is paying for it.
I'm curious though, like if there is no human going on the ride and it's a vet appointment, how are the payments for the vet bills managed in a situation like that?
Yeah, the vets will reach out directly to either the pet owner, or to the organization that is funding those vet visits directly, and collect payment.
Very cool. I love it. So what, and this is to all of the panelists, like what would you say are the do's and don'ts for when you want to set up, a new program like this, which is a new resource, especially like, in a nonprofit organization where resources are limited, you need to advocate for having more support, not just a budget, but just a team, or, things like that. If you could just elaborate, please.
We didn't have hard data about how many folks had previously been unable to access our clinic. We had a strong sense of it, though, from talking to our clinic staff and our program assistants who take the phone calls and those kinds of things. I think if you had some data, it probably would make it an easier sell to get some budget money set aside. Fortunately, our pet retention department is in the same building, and we work extremely closely with the clinic. We're sort of a branch of the clinic. So the advocacy for us was not that difficult, because we were all kind of serving the same population.
Sarah?
I think for DPA, it was really like Gil, we didn't have the hard data, but we had a lot of conversations with pet families that just could not access the clinics that we use for our past program. And so utilizing those stories is really what helped. For example, my most favorite story to ever tell, and the best $23 I will ever spend, was to get a gentleman and his dog from a motel to a homeless shelter in Dallas that accepts dogs. And he was going to take public transportation, but he wasn't sure that his dog was going to be allowed. And I said, let me get you an Uber. So I woke up on a Saturday morning at like 5 a.m. so I could order the Uber for him. But it's stories like that is what helped our community and our funders and our donors see that this really is a need, that we need to be assisting not just the people with transportation and with those means to get places, but especially those that don't have the transportation. Those are the ones that really need the assistance.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know like we're getting close to the end of this conversation, but I think that that's a great segue, because I do love to talk about how these stories sort of reiterate why we need to have programs like this. And I'd love to hear from you, Marty and Gail, as well. Like, like a story that was impactful and why it sort of validates why we need to have resources like this.
Yeah, I not a week goes by that we do not get a phone call from someone. We take phone, like, we don't just have an app. We have, as you experienced, Geraldine, like, we have a 1-800 number. People can call us directly. They can ask any question they want. We want people to feel comfortable about, who is handling their pet. But not a week, probably not a 2 or 3 days go by where we do not get a phone call from someone who says, listen, I can't drive, or I don't have access to transportation. My pet has a vet appointment tomorrow or next week. And, can your service help me get my pet to their appointment? And that's, I feel like we're doing that all the time. That is one of the, for right or wrong, when I started the business, I wasn't thinking about folks who did not have access to transportation. But that has become a huge component of our organization, is serving those folks in the community who lack that transportation. And just to your last question, I think our goal, we focus on the businesses from an original perspective because as a business, we have to generate income and to keep the business going. But as time goes on, we want to focus more on the nonprofits and allow those nonprofits to have a transportation option without having to have the overhead that comes, the potential overhead that comes with those creating those programs internally, that they can come to us. We can say, here's the system, and it can just be kind of plug and play for them. So
Geraldine, we are kind of only got our 2 minutes left. And so there are a couple of questions just that I'm going to put into, I'll give you so you can continue them in the forum, to just some specifics on how people, if the transport waits, how they handle carriers, how they handle liability, so we can make sure that we continue this conversation there. So I think that'll be great. But I just wanted to thank you, Geraldine, for facilitating, and for our guests for coming. And thanks to all of you for watching today. And Geraldine, I'll let you wrap it up from there.
Yeah, this was really exciting. I'm happy that we were able to do this, and I hope that we can have more conversations around pet rides, because it definitely is a resource that's much needed in the whole conversation with access to care. And so I'd like to sort of get back to where we started, where please check out our website at opendoorconsults.org. We have our step-by-step guide if you want to start an Uber program. We have our free microlearning nugget. I'm going to be available on the Maddie's Pet Forum to continue this discussion and answer your questions. And please keep checking back on the Open Door Veterinary Collective's website, because we're going to keep adding resources on access to veterinary care. And thank you all for attending. Thanks to Maddie, and we'll see you next time.